where these voices do come out and speak towards this. I mean, we can name names if necessary.
Wait, we don't even need to name names. We have stats. I put
I
the
know there
stats
are
based on
some
voice, right?
like
Is correct.
Statistically speaking, your percentages of hearing a sermon on political engagement and voting are higher in black churches than almost any church besides strictly black Protestant churches. Apparently, are the highest at 47%. White churches are the lowest at 26%. But you see almost double the specificality on voting turnout and racial equality sermons in these
from
church
those
congregations.
communities.
Yeah.
So, ma'am,
But what were the? Does anyone have the statistics from the last midterm that we had? Because I forget which one it was, whether it was IRI or Ruminate. Speaking of, one of the states where only like 13% of black voters came out in one of the southern states. Like that's depressing.
But wait,
ma'am,
that's to be expected.
You ever noticed, like, in the last like several freaking presidential elections, they keep showing the candidates on both sides showing up to like black congregations. Like the black vote and politics have been a thing together for like over 100 years. Like,
okay, there's a difference. There's a difference between people having it in their face, even engaging and talking about it, and then actually going out and voting. Like you guys saw Gideon and Abba. People will engage in the conversation, but they won't ever step out and actually fucking vote.
They literally have entire drives to like put
Social
people on
polls. Have you never heard of this?
To actually vote.
I just don't understand why we're pretending like this isn't a thing where people talk about their opinions about politics, but don't actually go out and vote. It's a
wait, Cherry, can I ask you a question? If you are actively engaged in talking about voting, do you think you have a higher capacity of voting?
I actually don't know. Because listening to Gideon and Abba talk about like black issues and talking about the like people in charge, and then also saying how they'll never vote. Like I don't know.
Well, Abba's in Canada, so his vote doesn't mean check it to the American.
Okay, wait, but we can show.
Okay, but voting matters like everywhere.
We can show from. Wait, hold up, guys.
Wait! Everybody hush! Like,
we're moving really far, really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
You don't think that, like, say, the flip side of Gideon, like when we saw with when Hillary was running, and we had a bunch of celebrities like preaching out, like, "Yo, go vote for Hillary. Hillary's got my vote." Did we not see a larger voter turnout in like younger communities and things like that?
Yeah, no, I think that always works. Like I remember back in the day when
What the hell is going on? Jesus.
Listen to him preach about going to vote, and then get your ass out in the polls.
More so than that.
When I said the thing about black people need to be in the church and they need to follow the Bible correctly, that's not like in back of my head. That's Fenty's words.
No. Don't worry about that with me. I am I am fucking agnostic as shit. I am not a part of any congregation. All right, I don't know shit about religion, and I'm not going to go down that route. I've been to churches when I was a kid. I experienced black congregations and white congregations. I understand the difference.
I just think that there's like several different issues that are just like all being conflated into one thing, which is like the black church right now, because I've mentioned it.
But that's important because the black church dealt with those things for people for a very long time.
The black church has been a pillar of the
foundation of those. No. Okay. Oh, wait. Again,
it can be an aid, but it can't be the solution.
Again,
you understand that, right?
Wait. No. It was not. It is not a solution. The solution isn't church, right? It is the aid, and what I have been saying is the lack of this aid, this congregation, these foundations, these conversations. Honestly, us getting in rooms together and having these conversations and figuring out what direction we want to go in a more solid form have been our downfall. We've been doing them like piecemealing groups by ourselves individually when we saw way more success in the 60s when we bound together. We just and honestly, to your point, institutionalized racism and the things that have been oppression placed upon those people have pushed them away from those things. But again, those things were the things that got us success, and that's why I'm preaching.
No, I'm not saying. Okay, I'm not saying institutionalized racism. Well, I have to address
after she finishes. After she finishes.
I'm not saying institutionalized racism made black people want to leave the church. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. Okay, well then don't act like we're saying the same thing. That's what.
No, I didn't say that. I just said I agree with that idea. I didn't say we were saying the same thing. I know.
I'm having different conversation here, and I feel like when black people want to talk about getting more black people back into the church, I don't want to have that conversation. That seems like
yes, it's a misunderstanding is what we've been saying. Like when we say this, we're talking about getting black people back.
No, because you care more about the church than the outcome that the church has.
No, I don't.
Can I inject some stats into this conversation?
I think it is more productive to see that black
just put them in chat.
No sources.
People are being cringe.
Like you can't. Okay, go ahead.
Wait, can I inject a stat into the actual
cut?
Yeah, hold on.
Who had the statistics? Go ahead.
Stop sharing trigger messages.
You've been like delegation.
What the hell?
Like to speak, please.
Wait. Can I ask you all of you a question? Everybody in here is gonna be.
Go ahead.
A pretty good question.
This fits, bro.
Just go ahead, bro.
All right. Okay. I'm hosting the debates. Wait. What?
No.
I'm hosting the debate.
May I ask?
Hey, hold on. This isn't the conversation.
This man.
Yeah, I knew it. I tried to tell him there's a mod in here.
No, move on.
Free. I will not speak for an entire 6 months. I will ask Shay one question. I
don't care. What do you want?
I'm gonna ask this girl the Hispanic side.
Girl, dude, she has a name.
Shay.
It's Cherry.
Can I? I'm biracial too, aren't I? Aren't I biracial?
Shut up, man. Let's ask your fucking question.
All right, one question, never again. 6 months cooldown. Shay, are you? ¿Tú estás bautizada?
Cool down. Go sit down.
Don't sit down for 6 months, dude. You need that shit.
Can I be serious? Can I be serious? One second.
Yes, please.
As somebody with an extreme pro-black raising that was raised to be against the church, I even have an understanding that whenever somebody talks about that sentiment of black people ought to go back to the church, it seems to be right. And again, this is for somebody that don't even fuck with most black religious people. It seems to be more of a sentiment of there needs to be a sense of community. And for black people, historically, that sense of community has usually been a church or a mosque or some kind of religious gathering. I think you can look at it deeper than just saying, I mean, like when you say we need to get back to those values, that we're saying you need to go back and pray to a Bible or a Quran. It's more about the fact that black people have some sense of community, some sense of place to congregate and have these conversations.
I completely agree. I understand what you mean. And I feel like when we are in this era that we are in now, in a country that is like having or pushes for religious freedom, and honestly, subscribing to a religion is an outlier today, I think. For like a new generation, you're basically telling people go back to the old way or you will have no community. I would rather find ways to build community that doesn't depend on forcing people to subscribe to a religion. Do you understand that?
Oh my God.
No, that's fine. If you want to have that sense of community outside of a church, I completely understand that and respect that. Though,
that's like
there's nothing wrong with that.
There's a million different communities you can enter into
outside of churches. Then
it's a bad opinion.
This is a stupid line. There's a million communities you can go join. Nobody gives a shit. Move like.
So
keep it in the scope.
When people talk about community, they want it to be a community like centered and focused on Black people. So even when they're talking about
stats disagree with you, Jerry. Stats disagree with you, Jerry.
There's no stats for the people that I'm like responding
Historical
to.
Black congregations should diversify is an actual stat that we have right in front of us. 61% of Black adults believe that Black congregations should diversify.
The people who are speaking are saying that they want a community of Black people, and they want that through the church. A Black church.
I think there's a large amount of people speaking that don't believe in that sentiment.
Statistics right now.
Okay.
No, it doesn't.
What are you saying? The Black churches don't exist.
I put them in Gen voice. If you guys want them, they're there. It's fine.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I completely understand and respect the sentiment that we need a place to congregate, and if you feel that it shouldn't be a church or a mosque, I understand and respect that. But I mean, like,
hold on,
you
because
know
I'm
that
not
place.
I'm not saying it shouldn't. I'm saying that a lot of the conversation is only geared towards this is where it should happen, and I think it isolates and ostracizes people who don't want to go there. Do you understand?
You think about it. No, I completely and totally understand that. There's a lot of people that will find themselves being not, they wouldn't feel welcome going to a church or having that kind of congregation.
Or they would feel like they have to lie about like their beliefs.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And that's fair. There are some that they might not feel accepted or welcome there. They have to lie about certain things. But I'm saying, do you know? Okay, right now, let's say every Black person we want to congregate. Where else historically than church have we done that? What do you have another suggestion or another place to do that?
Yeah. So I think today what you would see is Black people finding communities that aren't rooted like in Black like issues or Black people. Like you will see Black people joining the LGBT community. You'll see Black people joining like.
I gotta interject.
There are people.
Interrupting. Shut up, everyone! Shut up. Okay, all right.
Relax.
Yes, please let her finish. I'm interested in the.
It's like people finding communities that aren't what feel like communities that started and are growing for the purpose of like Black people.
Okay.
Would you say communities revolving around a race are in a slow decline?
I don't know because I don't like do that statistics, but I don't have a problem with that.
I don't think anybody really does. I mean, some people do.
Well, the question that Solus asked wasn't to say that like people find other communities within other groups. They're asking for like a vehicle that we can use to mobilize people. So historically, you're right. Like, I mean, you agree with this, and you're not like disparaging it. I don't think it should go away necessarily. This was the Black church, but like when the Black church goes away, if the Black church is a pillar of a community or like the cornerstone of like Black voter mobilization, what is the alternative thing that allows people to mobilize that way? That's the question.
I think it's just generally like cities and schools and other communities that we have that maybe aren't even Black focused. Like everyone should bolster up the importance of voting. But I think people who generally talk about voting, they aren't even about it. So that's why like you'd have that moment with Abba and Gideon, where when it comes to voting, after they've been such vocal critics of everything happening like socially and politically, that they're all of a sudden preaching like, well, my vote's not going to fucking matter.
But like those people are representative of broken. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah. So I'll just comment on like Abba and Gideon and all these folks. These people are stupid people. And like I understand that their perspectives are like
then go one up.
Wait, one at a time.
They have large platforms. I was critical, like
shut up.
The stream that like Destiny did recently, not because like Destiny did anything wrong, but because like if you say you're going to talk to like Anna about something, you don't invite Fnatic, you don't invite Low Tier God, you don't invite Gideon. You don't invite
Fnatic.
These people are no different than the people that like I would expect to talk to at my local bar in terms of their qualifications. They just have very large platforms. So like I understand that these people have a sentiment and that the sentiment is like shared within the community, but like if anything, like the criticism to them shouldn't even necessarily be that they're like discouraging people from voting, which is already stupid. The criticism to them is just shut the fuck up. They know what they're talking.
Like instead of just not vote, like the least you could do is not say that you think voting doesn't matter. Like that's the least you could fucking do. Is just not saying anything.
Why
I mean, the least you can
do.
Fanatic, I don't know if anybody remembers this.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dean.
No, what happened with Fanatic?
Fanatic was in here before, and one of the he blocked me, but then he unblocked me. And the reason he blocked me is he was in here on some shit, and everybody was dogpiling him because he said black people shouldn't vote. They should like withhold their vote. It's just like use it as a weapon. Like the Democrats don't want to cater to your needs. They don't want to represent you. So withhold your vote. But he didn't seem to understand that like there's two possible outcomes that he just eats shit on. And one of them is, hey, you withhold your vote and your plan works perfectly. Now the Democrats lose, the Republicans win, and policy passes, it disenfranchises you further. That's already bad. That's the one everyone sees coming. The other one is, what if it doesn't work? What if you withhold your voting block and the Democrats find some secret sauce with like the Latinos or some shit and they fill up your voting block? Now they don't even need to think about you at all. At all. That's terrifying.
I think in response to that, I think that's probably what like a lot of my issues are, especially talking to people, because I think of the end result, like where Fanatic is. So because like the beginning part, telling people to go back to church, have traditional values, marry black women, that's all things that Fanatic says. And I know he says those things because of the final thing that he thinks, which is voting doesn't matter, let's stop voting. And like instead of getting them to walk to the part like Fanatic does where he eventually says it, I kind of like already shut off. Like you're preaching individualism and nothing you're saying is about voting.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? I think that goes back to what Auntie was saying. These are bad faith people. These aren't people who lead the movement, right? And then what we do is that we'll take their ideas and then we'll chastise them, but also chastise the people who are really doing that work, who are walking the walk and are talking the talk and saying all those things and say they're just as bad, right?
Yeah,
what I'm pointing to is that those individuals who are saying the same things but are actually getting up and doing what you're telling them to do. I mean that's what they're saying, right? So like if we're going to like excoriate Judea, I know whoever the fuck this guy is, because I don't know these individuals, right? I do that on an individual because I'm not
He's an old black man.
He doesn't follow the stream. Most people in the Discord don't follow the stream.
There are people here who don't even watch the stream.
Yeah.
Yes. Millions of people. And
we mostly disagree with.
Hold on, chill. Most people that I interact with, and I know this is anecdotal, but I think most people don't interact with these people. They say, "Yo, Horn, you are in the wind, my guy." Jesus. Right, but like they don't interact with these people, so they don't hear these individual voices. But what they do interact with are the same kind of talking points, but from people who do what they say they do. Like there are programs like Souls to the Polls who do this exact thing. They bring people in, right? It's not a religious thing at all, right? The church puts it on. You don't have to say get your soul cleansed before God before you vote. It's just a mechanism that has an organization behind it, that has a good tie with the community, that has engagement with and a trust with that community that can easily influence those people. So like when the black church comes to black people usually listen because they trust them, right? I trust them more than I trust any other voice, and that's what Solus was asking. Where are these other voices, right? They seem to be segmented and like individualistic on their own, and they don't have the ability to move people in the same way that the foundation of the church does. So we look towards those individuals to do that work, and it is good.
Jerry, do you mind if I compliment Free's comments in like two ways real quick?
Go for it.
Yeah, so one is, so like in my research, like most of my research outside of like the just general like welfare econ stuff I do is like particular to the African American community. That's one of the reasons why like I was so upset with the Anna streams and why Eric ended up messaging Destiny, and Destiny ended up pulling me to the stream, and then the clusterfuck scenario happened where we were screaming at each other. But I mean, Free's right. So if you talk to a lot of like policymakers, the first thing they're going to think of when they're like engaging in a project within an inner city community, particularly like a community with a lot of black people in it, they're going to think, okay, who are the leaders within that community? Who are the people who can make like actual change happen within the community? And they'll normally point to like the mayor or like a fucking council member or something to that effect. But in actuality, it turns out most of the time it's these informal things like the preacher, the pastor, the grandma on the block who just knows what's going on. And those are the people that like they go to. And so I'm not saying that like we can't generate that level of trust between the community and like these other like more formalized institutions. But I think that like a lot of the time, not you, but like people within the community tend to dismiss how difficult and fragile that trust is, and how we'll need to build that over like multiple generations. And then the other thing I'll say is, listen, people in the Black community will often say to themselves that they care about educated, well-informed opinions, but oftentimes we really don't. We platform these folks, we listen to folks like Gideon and Abba, and I don't think that they're bad people. I just think that they treat politics as like a game or as like sport rather than the seriousness that it deserves. And if you're going to do that, you're going to promote these kinds of people, you're going to bring these people out and give them the platforms that they have and allow them to speak about these issues. When they say like don't vote, like you should expect that because they're idiots.
But hold on, I feel like, okay, they might have a big platform, right? And they might be saying dumb shit like don't vote, but they are not unique. There are like nobody, all scattered throughout the world. Like what? Yep. Almost half this country doesn't think that they should vote. But like my problem with really focusing in and continuing on encouraging there to be this sort of like influence over the Black community through the church is almost neglecting the fact of I'm sorry, but a lot of bad stuff goes on from the church. Homophobia still heavily ingrained from the church. Like I just don't want to go back to that. So I feel like I'm in a position where I want to be respectful. You could do your thing. Enjoy your community. I acknowledge that you find a value in your community. I will see it. I'll co-sign it. But that's like for you. And I think if people do not want to be religious, if they do not want to have to depend on the church for advocacy within their community, I want to help that because I don't want that either.
Everybody stop! Everybody stop! Everybody stop!
You just said for the most part. I mean, again, I have like no stake in this anymore. I'm not religious anymore. But the thing is that the reason why I'm bringing up like these people and like I understand that they're not isolated cases. This is like a more systemic, prolific problem. But at the same time, like the leadership used to come from this institution. If we're displacing the leadership or we're substituting out the leadership and we're choosing these other people to be the voices for this community and to have these conversations on large platforms, we're doing a really shit job at choosing our leaders. And then we expect like people to be a little bit skeptical, or we don't expect people to be a little bit skeptical sometimes when they say, okay, like, well, you want to move us away from the Black church, but these people aren't getting us to vote. The Black church is getting us to vote.
I got a question.
I have a question.
I don't know if that's a thing that's happening, but I'll think about that.
No, this is like where most of the
okay.
This is like where most of the skepticism is happening, like institutionally. So, like, if you want to substitute out the institution, and the institution is like fulfilling a really important function, say it's congregation, say it's community building, say it's like getting people out to vote. If you push it off to this other institution, let's say a bunch of content creators or a bunch of people who are like within the community who are promoted for one reason or another, and then they end up saying don't vote, the people who are like part of that like political movement are going to be very, 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 very wary about shifting off of the Black church. We need to like find a way, and I think this is what you're trying to do. We need to find a way to like encourage people to vote while also getting rid of all these dumb fucks, and then securing that position so that people, when that transition happens, they do believe that the Black church acts as an aid, not as the sole source.
Yeah. Okay, so you're kind of talking about like not whatever it's called, like power power of vacuum of power or something like that. I think I understand what you're
talking about.
In a sense, right? But we're talking about the formation of what that organization, how it would look and what it would do, how it would replace the church, because for the fears that you brought up, right? But there are organizations that are doing that. Again, like to Anthony's point, it is not going to be divorced from the church. It's going to be with an aid and heavy aid, specifically because the foundations are so strong with those people. The trust is there. The engagement is there. It's right. It's there. So in order for you to gain any ground, it must go through the church, right? That's how we engage people. I do this to engage people into getting clinical trials. Black people don't do clinical trials, and for good reason. You can't trust anybody that's a doctor, especially if they're white, right? You don't know if they're doing any kind of crazy shit on the backside. Yeah, I mean, this is just a fact of how people believe. Not that it's necessarily true, but this is what people believe, right?
They believe.
Yes,
it's
but
not because of crazy shit.
yeah,
it's because of like unconscious.
I know. Yes, it is unconscious biases on both sides for Black folk. Believing in historical wrongdoings still being prevalent, which to some effect is kind of true, but maybe overstated or overbolstered. But the point being is that when we look to engage these individuals, they say the same thing. We don't even know you. You're Black, sure, but you come from a company. You probably want to make money, and I don't trust that shit either. Yeah, I work for a company that tries to engage minority communities in the clinical trials. This is a systemic issue that we're trying to face. Right? Yeah.
I'm already rich. I'm not here to make money. I'm here because I like talking about this.
You're not listening.
No,
you're not listening to me.
That's not what he's saying.
You're not hearing me. You're not.
That's not what he's saying.
I'm trying to flex on you, G.
Yeah. So stop. So I'll repeat. Stop talking.
It's fine. It's just a misunderstanding. It's fine.
Yes, so I can repeat it so you can understand. That charge was against myself, actually, from the community. The community places that charge upon companies like myself, a small Black business owned by Black people, majority Black people, who go out and we do it digitally and with boots on the ground. But they say the same things. We don't even trust you because you got money in the pot, right? We don't even know. I mean, you come in here saying the same thing everybody else has said, but nothing ever gets done, so we don't trust. But we have to go to the people who they do have some modicum of trust, that being the church, right? There's always a pastor that I got to go talk to get Black folk to get together, and they are really fucking good at it, right? They go call folk, they knock on doors, and they get people together in ways that honestly we cannot do. We don't have those inroads.
So they're so effective, but don't you run into this issue where, like, if you guys even do the things that you guys are saying, and you guys do turn to the pastors and the church as an institution to appeal for like Black trust in the community, you run the risk that, like, if that becomes a salient avenue, you're going to have so much corruption in that space. Everyone is going to try to become a pastor to get the political. But that's what I mean. It's already bad enough right now when you're just getting like donations. Imagine when there's actual shitload of political power that gets associated with it.
I wasn't. First off, what I was speaking to wasn't about gaining political power. This was about an institution that is not religious, trying to make inroads and connect with people who are. It's not about establishing levels of like political power. We were talking. I was starting with clinical trials, my guy.
Yeah. So if I can respond to what you're saying, and I think it'll be like my final thing, and I'll let you talk afterwards. I believe today we're not dependent on like the town square for people to get informed, for people to get galvanized. The idea that the church was successful in doing so, I don't think has to be that way for like the rest of our lives, or even moving forward in the short running. I would prefer to find ways in which the individual is motivated to inform themselves and to vote that doesn't require an institution that will have its own agenda to do so for them. That's what I would like. And I don't think that you will ever get that independence from the individual with an influence of a church.
No. You'll never get this with any institution. People are not like this. Even when we talk to those people, that's not what they're telling us. They're not saying, I want to be individually empowered to make my own decisions. Yes. They're saying...
You can't agree with me and still push for that stuff, though.
Wait, when I push for it, why would I push for it if the people that I'm engaging with and I'm dealing with aren't asking for it? It's giving a solution to them that they don't even see as being fruitful. What makes you think they're going to engage with it?
I have a question. Cherry, so moving into specifics, what would be your opposition? Because you're talking about not being Christian, but having some type of, obviously not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, having some type of vehicle that joins people, what would be your specific objections against something like the community of Freemasons?
What the?
Oh my god.
It's,
let
her answer.
Conversation derailed.
Wait.
No,
Wait.
go
I
ahead.
actually think this is
Human
good,
being,
and if
chill.
people want to, yeah, like I think if you guys have objections, think it's stupid, I can engage you after that. But I just want to hear her specifically respond, and then I'll engage you guys.
I think she peaced out.
I think she literally left. Yeah.
She literally was like, "Fuck you, buddy."
To that point, why would she want to engage? Or why would you say that, put up a quasi-religious institution up in front of the church? It'd be like saying, well, then maybe it's not Christian, but what about Islam? Or again, but that's what people are doing. Right? I don't get the point.
Oh, so I don't think. So you're asking me to supply logic to her position a little bit?
No, to yours, not her. She didn't say anything. She pieced out. I'm talking to you.
No. Well, I'm trying to apply this logic within her worldview, right? So like, she's the one who's saying, not the church, not the church, not the church, and then the response is, well, if not the church, what else?
What about the Freemasons?
And then her response to that to me was kind of vague and wasn't specific enough to disqualify something like the Freemasons. So I wanted her to engage with that specific in order to see. Yeah, so that's what I was trying to see. Like, okay, so what about how does she handle this particular institution?
No. You're misunderstanding. I think you're misconstruing what she's saying. When she says the church, I don't think she's talking about specifically the Christian church, right? She's talking about religious aspects of any institution, right? Be it the church, the mosque, the synagogue, or the fucking lounge, the den, right? Where the Freemasons meet to do their quasi-religious bullshit.
But what would be her specific problem against even that institution, I guess?
Because for most people who have those qualms, are strictly against the religious and the spiritual aspects. They don't believe in any of that shit. They look at those institutions as being corrupt because of some of the beliefs that they have based on their religious beliefs, and they don't want to be involved at all. They want a secular institution to take its place. So you suggesting a quasi-religious organization doesn't necessarily fit the bill.
Yeah, I get that, but the thing that was interesting is because when I pressed her on those specific things, she says, because you're told to pray harder. Now, that's not something that's within every institution, religious and quasi-religious. So I was trying to find out, what is the specific thing? So is it like a thing where there's certain things that she doesn't like specifically, but then when it's peeled back and those things are removed, there's just like a cooties aspect that's left over in spirituality in general that she jerks away from?
Just to
because what's the specific problem?
Somebody has a mic that is like fucking up right now. I don't know if it's the one guy speaking or who.
I think it's that code guy. I think it's code
the 90s want your mic back, dude.
Oh god.
Yeah.
I've got something to say, right?
So please mute so I don't have to disconnect you, Miss Code, please.
I was.
Bitches, I swear to God, these motherfuckers can talk. They need to shut the motherfuck up. First of all, they're dumb, they're stupid, they're Jesus Christ. First of all, I've got my. Oh God, oh my God. Jesus fucking Christ. These guys are pricks. First of all, they're all talking about this and that. Oh God. Where do I start? Where the fuck do I start, man? Where do I start? They're talking about, oh, we need the church to bring black people together. We need the church. There's one dude who keeps going yapping, talking all day fucking long. I'm sick of it. I'm tired. I'm done. Bro, stop acting as if every single motherfucking black person in America goes to the church, because many fucking don't. Whether they're Christian or not, whether they be another religion, they may not even go to their particular institution. And then you have Cherry. Cherry. Why, Cherry? I said why? Listen to me when I'm trying to say something, right? Listen to me. You're saying, oh, these people are stupid because they don't go and vote. And then this other guy is saying, okay, you know what? There's these things where they're saying, oh, all groups of black people shouldn't be voting, right? So that they can really affect change. And they're saying that's the worst thing ever. Because now every other group will basically have their interests taken care of. And those politicians from only two parties, mind you, only two parties. This is why voting is fucking stupid. It is stupid. It's rigged. It's rigged. Corporations have bought out politicians. This has been going on for years, decades, over a motherfucking century. Longer than that. Since before government even existed in various monarchies and all that shit. Like, that's not giving a good reason for people to vote. If both the Republicans and Democrats don't do anything to help the plight of, black people when it comes to institutionalized racism and all sorts of other issues and arrays, if they can't even provide any tangibles, you're simply asking for these people who've been let down year after year, election after election, even when the supposed pro-black party, supposedly, the Democrats supposedly are in power. What do? You're basically telling people to vote because it's the lesser of two evils. That's not good enough a reason to vote. I'm sorry. Whilst there is a large percentage of those who are, minorities in general who would vote for Democrats, right? If you were to take them out of the equation, there's still the very large vast majority of these people who do vote Democrat are still white. No offense. Again, no disrespect or anything. I'm just trying to stay fair. The demographics might change in terms of the vote may change. A large enough difference may be enough to affect an election. Typically, again, less would vote for Republicans, but there are quite a number of them that do. By the way, not to say that they're not. Anyway, there's quite a lot of them. Not in proportion to, but still a sizable percentage, right? And I'm not going to go quote any figures. And the reason why, because when we get asked for it, we have to have those to hand, those figures, the sources. We need to make sure that we've got all the correct information. But just to make a point, right? They were talking about, well, what happens if that backfires? What happens if that fucking fails? Right? Now, the Latino, the Hispanic contingent could sweep up those votes. They can have, tangibles and be appealed to by these politicians. Just because a large percentage don't vote and stuff like that, if they were to say that every person took a stand and decided not to, doesn't mean that they're going to have to ignore them. They're still citizens of that country. Those are still extra votes that they can still entice. So maybe they should really start thinking a little bit better about how they can help and affect change. So that dude, Mr. Religious Guy, kept talking on and on and on and on, and I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn whether you're Melina, whether you're Destiny, and you come across my shit and you see that I'm on your Discord. I do not give a damn. The reason why, I heard an interesting conversation, I was sucked in, I wanted to give my 2 cents, I couldn't even give one. Because Religious Dude kept going on and on and on about, we need the church this, we need the church, we need the church. I wonder what other race of people ever spoken to like that. You don't ever hear this about white people. Hey, you don't even hear about this about other minorities these days, do you? Only black people. And it's a special rare case, you know what I'm saying, when I go over to Morocco. A very unique situation there. But that's not to say the shit isn't being replicated at a lesser degree in a lot of Western first world countries. The one thing I gotta say, Cherry, goddamn, you kept harping on about needing this community to go influence them to vote because voting is the most important thing in the world. If you don't vote, your voting will affect your life. No, it won't. When the voting system, the political system, is actually so damn corrupt that you have to vote in such a narrow window. There's not that. There are considerable differences between the parties, but at the end of the day, many of the people in those parties are just two sides of the same coin, right? When it comes to certain issues. I'm not talking about abortion and all that, but if we really kind of narrow it down to sort of the more mainstream policies, right? They're not really that much different in certain aspects. Like, what examples do we have? I mean, yeah, might be a difference in terms of tax rates for people of a certain income, for example, but not that much of a difference, would it? Or unless you're super rich, then Republicans obviously don't give a damn about that. And then I have my fan on, and I was just leaving my mic on. I wanted to say something, and they booted me out of the room because they could hear static. Never gave me a single chance to speak. Bullshit debate. Yet that guy had hours and hours and hours to go on. We need the church. We need the church. I think you're misunderstanding what she's saying. I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. Shut the fuck up, man. You're saying, oh, let me speak, let me finish. Why don't you let people speak? Why don't you be polite enough when I say, I got a question, I got something to say, okay, go ahead, but let me finish my point. That's all you need to say. I think it's that cold, dude. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Didn't even give me a goddamn line to drop. He said, look, I'm gonna give you one line, but if your shit is crackly, we're gonna connect it. No warning. These people are pricks. This is not an open conversation. It's not an open conversation. It's a closed discussion. You know what I'm saying? The only reason why they even get certain people time to talk is because they've got clout. This isn't even a stream thing. And hey, no offense to people like Cherry or anything like that. No offense to her whatsoever. I'm just saying. She's talking about these groups to mobilize, as I said. Not comfortable about it being a religious group because then they'll start to try to convince people, oh wait, no, on things that are separate from like the racial issues and actually more towards the religious stuff, and can actually be quite detrimental to other groups within that same community, i.e. the black LGBT, get demonized and denigrated to no end whatsoever, obviously by members of plenty of black churches and churches in general, because it's church, isn't it? It's Christianity, isn't it? What did you expect? That's why I had to jump in and say, oh, church isn't a good place to go, it's homophobic. And I was like, that's intertwined with the religion. That's like saying 1 + 1 = 2. I'm not saying this right, I'm saying it couldn't get any more obvious than that. Do you understand? We've been set up in a world where most people do follow religions which are, let's be honest, are sadly and unfortunately have a lot of prejudices. It's messed up. When it comes to talking about alternative groups within the black community that can help speak up or get people to mobilize to vote and stuff, that is outside of the church, not a single group of people were mentioned, or not a single alternative was mentioned. Never said anything about a community club, a community center, something that's more secular. These people are it's as if they don't even know their fucking history. Technically, technically, more recently, Black Lives Matter, or there's people working in various certain decentralized Black Lives Matter local movements, right? Who bring people together to say, okay, we've got to affect this change, we've got to stick it to these people. Always important, use your voice, but let's actually take action and protest. As in, let's actually do some activism. Let's not just think, oh, I'm going to vote, that's the best thing, or I'm going to convince people to all vote for this party. Vote. If you're convincing people to vote, that is not enough, and that's not gonna solve issues alone. You cannot solve problems just by convincing people to vote. You can get all people, vote for them, vote for them, vote for them. Great. This party in the hands, they're getting free votes. What are they doing to earn those votes? What are they doing for us? What are they doing for them? What are they doing for everybody? If you like, vote for them so that those people can't get in, the lesser of the two evils voting, there's no fucking point. Let the country turn into chaos. Get your passport and get the fuck out of there. Normally I never say that kind of shit. What's the point of leaving? Don't let motherfuckers let you leave, or make you leave. What am I talking about? Don't let them make you leave like that. Don't let them make you leave like that, sonny. These bastards, man. When you withhold your votes and you follow up with activism, protest, demands, picketing, mobilization, getting people gathering in the streets, outside of political buildings, local government offices, central government offices, and once you got people up and down making a ruckus, and try not to do, as much as I hate to say, like, as much as I hate to see any kind of destruction of any form, if a riot's going to get a front page on the news, but a peaceful protest is going to be, on the 10th, 11th page, which one was more successful in getting out the message? Albeit, whilst the front page was successful in getting out the message, there's going to be a lot of backlash to it. So all you have done, you've mobilized people, but you've also mobilized the opposition to that. Now, on the flip side, if you do the peaceful protesting, you mobilize a lot less people because they get a lot less attention. It's a lot less of a priority. But that also means that you piss off a lot less people, so you have mobilized a lot less people against you either. Action, reaction. So, activism in any way, you need to make it clear what you want, or what we need as a collective, right? You don't just tell people, go sign up to vote. Go sign up to vote. Vote. Everything's going to be alright if you vote. We need these people to vote. It's so important. No. You need to have a lot more political activism than that in order to effect change. That's why I'm saying the political system is broken, is because if people can't even be bothered, and there are groups who do mobilize, but still too small to get any recognition. Whilst motherfuckers are struggling to do that, there are corporations bankrolling certain politicians, certain parties, by their millions, lobbying for what they want. We want more favorable tax conditions. Easy. Spend a couple of million on someone's campaign. Easy. What do you think that politician's going to do at the end of that? The politician treats those political donors as a CEO would treat their shareholders of their company, their investors. They will give in to their demands so that they can continue to do their job, or to continue to stay in that job that they've been placed in. Knowing damn well, for example, without that money they couldn't have got the resources to have a successful campaign, compared to much smaller politicians who only have grassroots activists and almost rarely, if ever, or never basically, never get into office. They just don't have the resources to compete. What's the point of voting in a political system that broken? Gideon is one thing, because he's been talking this and that about politics. I think we should be doing this, we should be doing that, so I don't vote. But there's so many blanks and so many holes in what he's saying. He's saying this, but it seems like politics isn't really at the forefront of his mind like that. But when he does think about it, he makes some decent points, but again, a few contradictions, man. That's all I'm saying. I think Abba understands it for what it is, man. But again, I'm not really too full informed, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has similar reservations to the ones that I have, you know? And that goes for any political system anywhere. It can't just be like, oh, just get people to vote. That's just some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Like, fuck. Imagine that. Imagine if you have to vote for rock, or you vote for a hard place. What's the point of voting? I don't want to be stuck in between rock and a hard place. Jesus Christ. And I'm only one person. It also depends on where you live, you know? You say collectivism, but too many people operate as individuals, and even if you are a collective, it's not going to be that big to affect change unless it's like, is proper local. If you live in a small town, the people are going to be running up, and a good 100 people, for example, within that same place, then you can affect change. But again, more on a local level. And that's possible, but again, as I said, the same constraints, the local candidates still get favourable support from the local business as well. Likewise, on a more national scale, you've got wealthy individuals donating to certain people's campaigns and stuff. Shame they didn't even give me the chance to even say a damn fucking word, right? And kick me out just because they can hear my heater going off. By my fan heater. Fuck that. Jesus Christ. This is cancerous, man. This shit is cancerous. The issue with having only two political